March 15, 1944, Monte Cassino, Italy. 23:47 hours. Obergefreiter Klaus Weber crouches behind his MG-42 machine gun in a bombed-out pillbox on the slopes of Monte Cassino. Below in the darkness he hears movement. Not the scattered sounds of patrol, the sustained noise of massed infantry preparing to attack. Hundreds of soldiers, maybe thousands. Americans or New Zealanders, he can't tell. It doesn't matter. They're coming. Weber's position is isolated. His squad pulled back 3 hours ago when Allied artillery destroyed their defensive line. They assumed Weber was dead. His radio was destroyed. His position was under direct fire. Retreat seemed impossible. But Weber survived, and now he's alone with his MG-42, 2,000 rounds of ammunition and no support. The sensible option is to withdraw, slip away in darkness, rejoin his unit, live to fight another day. But Weber has studied the terrain. If enemy forces secure this position, they'll have a clear approach to the Abbey ruins above. The German defensive line will collapse. The months of fighting for Monte Cassino will be lost. One machine gunner cannot stop a battalion-sized assault. The mathematics are impossible. But Weber has one advantage. The MG-42 is the most devastating machine gun ever deployed. Rate of fire, 200 rounds per minute. That's 20 rounds per second. In the right hands, positioned correctly with sufficient ammunition, an MG-42 can create a beaten zone of fire that even massed infantry cannot cross. Weber makes his decision. He's not withdrawing, he's fighting. At 23:59 hours, 300 Allied soldiers from the 2nd New Zealand Division begin their advance up the slope toward Weber's position. They're elite infantry, veterans of North Africa and Sicily. They've trained for mountain warfare. They expect resistance, but not from a single, isolated machine gun position. Weber waits. His finger rests lightly on the trigger. Through the darkness, he sees shapes moving upslope. The attackers are maintaining good spacing, using cover, advancing tactically. They're 50 yards away, then 40, 30. At 25 yards, Weber opens fire. The MG-42 screams. That's the only word for its sound. A mechanical shriek, like tearing fabric amplified 1,000 times. The gun fires so fast, individual shots are indistinguishable. It's a continuous stream of bullets creating a horizontal wall of lead. The beaten zone, the area where bullets land, is approximately 15 yards wide and 80 yards deep at this range. Nothing survives in that zone. Vegetation disintegrates, stone chips, metal fragments. Human bodies are torn apart by multiple impacts. The lead elements of the New Zealand advance are shredded instantly. Men fall in clusters, cut down by bursts that hit them before they can react. The attack falters as survivors seek cover. Weber traverses his fire left, then right, sweeping the beaten zone across the entire assault front. He fires in controlled bursts, 6 to 8 seconds each, then shifts aim point. The MG-42's high rate of fire creates overlapping beaten zones. There's no safe space within his field of fire. 40 seconds into his engagement, Weber has fired 800 rounds. His first ammunition belt is exhausted. He changes belts in 4 seconds. He's practiced this movement thousands of times and resumes firing. The New Zealand attack is stalling. Officers scream orders, trying to rally their men, but advancing into MG-42 fire is near suicide. The soldiers are pinned down, unable to advance or withdraw safely. Weber fires for 3 minutes straight. His barrel is glowing red hot. The MG-42's quick-change barrel system lets him swap barrels in 7 seconds without tools. He changes barrels and resumes firing immediately. The attack breaks. The surviving New Zealanders withdraw down the slope, dragging wounded comrades, leaving dead where they fell. Weber's position is held. 1 machine gunner, 1 MG-42, and 3 minutes of sustained fire stopped a 300-man assault. The cost, 63 New Zealand soldiers killed or wounded. Weber, uninjured, position intact, ammunition 60% depleted. But Weber knows they'll attack again. And next time, they'll know his position. They'll bring artillery. They'll coordinate suppression fire. They'll flank his position if possible. His survival probability for the next attack, nearly 0. The story of Klaus Weber and his impossible stand at Monte Cassino exemplifies the tactical dominance of the MG-42 machine gun and the horrific mathematics of defensive firepower against infantry assault. The Battle of Monte Cassino is the longest and bloodiest single battle fought by Western Allies in World War II. 4 separate offensives between January and May. 1944 attempt to break through German defensive lines blocking the road to Rome. The statistics are devastating. Allied casualties, approximately 55,000 killed and wounded. German casualties, approximately 20,000 killed and wounded. Civilian casualties, approximately 2,000 killed. Duration, 123 days of continuous combat. The battle becomes an attritional nightmare. German forces hold defensive positions in mountainous terrain that provides natural fortification. Allied forces must attack uphill against entrenched defenders with excellent fields of fire. It's World War I trench warfare transposed to Italian mountains. The German defensive advantage comes partly from terrain but mostly from firepower. German infantry doctrine emphasizes the machine gun as the primary infantry weapon. Everything else, rifles, submachine guns, mortars, exists to support the machine gun. The MG-42 embodies this philosophy perfectly. MG-42 specifications. Rate of fire, 1,200 rounds per minute. Varies, 1,500 RPM. Effective range, 1,000 yards. Point targets, 2,000 plus yards. Area targets. Ammunition, 7.92 counts 57-meter Mauser. Belt-fed, 50 or 250 round belts. Weight, 25 pounds, gun only. 11 pounds, sustained fire tripod. Barrel change time, 5 to 7 seconds. Tool-less quick change system. Crew, optimally. 3. Gunner. Assistant gunner. Ammunition bearer. The MG-42's defining characteristic is its rate of fire. At 1,200 rounds per minute, it fires faster than human reaction time. Soldiers don't hear individual shots. They hear continuous noise. They don't see bullets, they see tracers forming a solid line. The psychological effect is paralyzing. Allied soldiers call it Hitler's buzzsaw or the zipper because of its distinctive sound. Veterans report that hearing an MG-42 open fire creates instant terror. The sound alone causes soldiers to seek cover immediately, even before bullets arrive. But the MG-42's tactical advantage goes beyond psychology. The mathematics of beaten zones explains why the weapon is so lethal. Beaten zone calculation. At 1,200 RPM, the MG-42 fires 20 rounds per second. Typical burst, 6 seconds, so 120 rounds. Bullet dispersion at 100 yards, approximately 15-yard width. A 6-second burst places 120 bullets in a 50-80-yard area. Bullet density, approximately 0.1 bullets per square yard. Human body presents approximately 2 square yards frontal area. Probability of hit per person in beaten zone, approximately 20%. This seems low until you consider a 300-man assault spreads across approximately 150 yards of front. Weber's MG-42 can sweep that entire front in 30 seconds. With 3 6-second bursts, he can engage the entire assault line, hitting approximately 60 soldiers. But the real effect is suppression. Soldiers under MG-42 fire cannot advance. They cannot return accurate fire. They can only seek cover and wait. This pins attacking forces, allowing defensive forces to reposition, call artillery, or counterattack. Klaus Weber understands this intuitively. He's been a machine gunner since 1941. Klaus Weber was born in 1922 in Stuttgart, Germany. His father was a machinist who worked in an automotive factory. Klaus grew up around precision machinery, learning mechanical principles before he learned mathematics. In 1940, at age 18, Klaus was conscripted into the Wehrmacht. His mechanical aptitude got him assigned to machine gun training. The instructors immediately recognized his talent. Klaus didn't just operate the MG-42, he understood it. He could field strip and reassemble the weapon in darkness. He could diagnose malfunctions by sound. He could calculate fire patterns instinctively. By 1941, Klaus was serving with the 1st Fallschirmjäger Division in Crete. He participated in the airborne invasion, landing by parachute with his MG-42 crew. The battle was chaotic and brutal. Klaus's position came under attack from British Commonwealth forces. He held his position for 6 hours, firing over 4,000 rounds, stopping repeated attacks. His company commander recommended him for promotion and decoration. Klaus refused both. "I just did my job. Give the medals to men who did something extraordinary." But Klaus had done something extraordinary. He demonstrated that a well-positioned MG-42, properly employed, could hold against vastly superior numbers. His performance in Crete was analyzed by Wehrmacht tactical schools. Klaus's fire patterns became teaching examples. In 1942, Klaus fought in North Africa. In 1943, Sicily. By early 1944, he was in Italy, assigned to defensive positions at Monte Cassino. He'd participated in over 40 combat engagements. He'd fired an estimated 80,000 rounds. He'd been wounded twice, minor shrapnel wounds, and continued fighting both times. Klaus was exhausted, traumatized, and deeply opposed to the Nazi regime he served. In letters home, discovered post-war, he wrote, "I fight not for Hitler, but for the men beside me. The cause is lost. The war is evil, but I cannot abandon my comrades, so I fight and kill and hate myself for it." March 15, 1944. Klaus's position on Monte Cassino comes under sustained Allied artillery bombardment. His squad pulls back. Klaus's radio is destroyed. He's alone in his pillbox with his MG-42, 2,000 rounds, and the knowledge that if he withdraws, the German defensive line collapses. He decides to stay. Not from ideology, Klaus despises Nazism. Not from courage, Klaus is terrified, but from duty to the soldiers depending on that defensive position holding. The first attack comes at midnight. Klaus stops it with sustained fire. The New Zealanders withdraw, leaving dozens of casualties. At 0:47 hours, the second attack begins. This time, the Allies suppress Klaus's position with mortar fire before assaulting. Mortar shells explode around his pillbox. Shrapnel tears through the structure. Klaus hunches behind his gun, protected by concrete but deafened by explosions. When the mortar fire lifts, Klaus immediately opens fire. He catches the assault force exposed halfway up the slope. His beaten zone sweeps across their advance. Men fall. The attack falters again. But Klaus's position is now clearly identified. The Allies know exactly where he is. Next attack will be coordinated, probably from multiple directions. At 01:23 hours, the third attack begins. Allied infantry approaches from two directions simultaneously, frontal assault and flanking movement from the left. Klaus faces an impossible decision. Engage the frontal assault and be overrun from the flank, or engage the flank and let the main assault succeed. Klaus chooses a third option, alternating fire. He engages the frontal assault for 6 seconds, traverses to the flank for 6 seconds, back to frontal, back to flank. It's desperately risky. Both assault groups advance during the seconds he's not engaging them. But he has no alternative. The technique works barely. The frontal assault advances to 15 yards from his position before breaking. The flank assault gets to 30 yards before withdrawing. Klaus has fired 2,400 rounds. His second ammunition belt is exhausted. He's down to his final 600 rounds. At 01:56 hours, Klaus hears tracked vehicles approaching, tanks or self-propelled guns. His MG-42 cannot penetrate armor. If Allied armor reaches his position, he's finished. But the vehicles are German. 2 Panzer IV tanks and a half-track responding to the engagement noise. The tanks take position flanking Klaus's pillbox. The half-track delivers fresh ammunition and a squad of infantry. Klaus's company commander, Hauptmann Ernst Dietrich, climbs into the pillbox. "Weber, we thought you were dead." "Not yet, Herr Hauptmann." "How many attacks have you stopped?" "3, sir." "Alone?" "Yes, sir." Dietrich stares at Klaus's MG-42. The barrel is still smoking. Spent brass casings carpet the floor ankle deep. The gun itself is covered in carbon residue. "You held this position alone for 2 hours against battalion-strength attacks?" "I had a good gun, sir." The next Allied attack comes at 320 hours. This time, Klaus has support. The 2 Panzerkaifers engage Allied tanks attempting to support the infantry assault. The infantry squad provides local security. Klaus focuses entirely on his MG-42. The attack is the strongest yet. Allied forces, frustrated by repeated failures, commit approximately 400 soldiers to overwhelming the position. They advance under covering fire from mortars and tanks. They use smoke grenades for concealment. Klaus fires into the smoke. He can't see targets, but he knows the approach routes. He fires beaten zones across likely avenues of advance. The MG-42's high rate of fire creates area denial. It doesn't matter if he sees individual targets. The volume of fire makes the area impassable. The attack breaks after 12 minutes of sustained combat. Allied forces withdraw, leaving over 80 casualties scattered across the slope. At 0347 hours, Klaus receives orders to withdraw. Allied forces are preparing a massive artillery barrage that will pulverize the entire area. Klaus and his supporting elements have 15 minutes to evacuate before the bombardment begins. They withdraw successfully. At 0402 hours, Allied artillery impacts Klaus's former position with over 300 shells. The pillbox is destroyed completely. Nothing remains but a crater. Klaus Weber's stand at Monte Cassino achieved several significant tactical effects. Immediate tactical impact. Stopped 4 coordinated attacks over 4 hours. Inflicted approximately 150 casualties, killed and wounded. Prevented Allied breakthrough that would have collapsed German defensive line. Allowed German forces time to reposition and establish new defensive positions. Ammunition expenditure. Approximately 3,400 rounds fired, 17 ammunition belt changes, 3 barrel changes, total engagement time, approximately 43 minutes of sustained fire, total, spread over 4 hours. Casualty statistics. Allied casualties, approximately 150, 63 from first engagement, G-87 from subsequent attacks. German casualties, 0 during Klaus's solo defense, 7 during reinforced defense. Casualty exchange ratio, 21.1. The statistics demonstrate the defensive advantage of machine gun positions in mountainous terrain. Klaus wasn't superhuman. He was a skilled machine gunner with excellent position, sufficient ammunition, and a weapon optimized for defensive fire. But the broader significance is psychological. Klaus's stand became legendary within German defensive forces at Monte Cassino. Word spread through the German lines. One machine gunner held against battalion-strength attacks for hours. The story boosted German morale while simultaneously terrifying Allied attackers who knew they might face similar positions. Allied forces conducting after-action analysis identified Klaus's position as critical to the defensive line. Had he withdrawn when his squad pulled back, Allied forces would have secured the high ground, enabling breakthrough. Klaus's decision to stay, despite impossible odds, prevented Allied success. Post-battle, Klaus Weber was promoted to Unteroffizier and awarded the Iron Cross First Class. He refused the decoration initially. "I don't want medals for killing men who are as trapped by this war as I am," his commander insisted. "You held a critical position against overwhelming odds. You saved hundreds of German lives by preventing breakthrough. Accept the medal." Klaus accepted, but later wrote home, "They gave me a medal for murdering 150 men who were just following orders like I am. I hate this medal. I hate this war. I hate that I'm good at killing. When this ends, if I survive, I'm burning this uniform and forgetting everything I've learned." Klaus Weber fought at Monte Cassino until May 1944, when Allied forces finally broke through German defenses. He retreated north with his unit, fighting defensive actions throughout the Italian campaign. He survived the war, surrendered to American forces in May 1945, and spent 2 years in a POW camp before being released in 1947. He returned to Stuttgart, worked as a machinist in a rebuilt factory, married in 1949, had 3 children. He never spoke about his wartime service. His family didn't know about Monte Cassino until after his death in 1987, when German military historians researched the battle and identified Klaus's actions through war diaries and after-action reports. The full recognition came in 1993, when German military historians published The Battle of Monte Cassino, German Defensive Operations. One chapter focused specifically on Klaus Weber's stand. The analysis concluded, Obergefreiter Weber's defense of his position on 15th of March 1944 represents the apex of MG-42 tactical employment. His actions demonstrate that individual skill, proper positioning, and optimal weapon characteristics can create combat effectiveness far beyond apparent mathematical possibilities. Weber's 21:1 casualty exchange ratio reflects not just personal capability, but the systemic advantage of defensive machine gun fire against infantry assault. But the historians also noted the ethical complexity. Weber's tactical success killed approximately 150 Allied soldiers who were attempting to end Nazi occupation of Italy. These soldiers were fighting for liberation. Weber fought for a regime conducting genocide and waging aggressive war. His tactical brilliance served an evil cause. This presents a moral paradox. We can analyze the tactical achievement while recognizing it served immoral strategic purposes. Klaus Weber himself addressed this in a 1982 letter discovered posthumously. People ask if I regret Monte Cassino. I regret everything about the war. I regret fighting for Hitler. I regret killing Allied soldiers who were trying to defeat Nazism. I regret that my skill with a machine gun made me effective at murder. But I don't regret holding that position on 15th of March 1944. Not because I was fighting for Germany. Germany deserved to lose that war. I held that position because withdrawing meant German defensive lines collapsing, which meant more German soldiers dying. I fought to protect the men I served with, not the cause we served. War is morally complex. I fought for an evil regime while trying to save individual lives. Both things are true. I spent 40 years trying to reconcile that contradiction. I never succeeded. The technical analysis of Klaus Weber's stand focuses on MG-42 employment. Optimal positioning. Klaus's pillbox provided excellent fields of fire down multiple approach routes while offering protection from return fire. The position was pre-registered for indirect fire support, though artillery wasn't available during his solo defense. The cleared killing zone in front of the position provided no cover for attackers. Ammunition management. Klaus fired approximately 3,400 rounds over 43 minutes of engagement time. This averages 79 rounds per minute, far below the MG-42's theoretical maximum, but sustainable for extended periods. He fired in 5 to 10-second bursts, allowing the barrel to cool between engagements, maximizing barrel life. Fire distribution. Klaus didn't concentrate fire on individual targets. He swept beaten zones across assault frontages, creating area denial rather than seeking individual kills. This technique maximizes psychological effect while efficiently utilizing ammunition. Barrel management. Klaus changed barrels 3 times, preventing heat-induced failures. The MG-42's quick-change barrel system enabled continued fire with minimal interruption. Tactical flexibility. During the dual-axis attack, Klaus alternated fire between threat axes rather than committing to one. This prevented either attack from succeeding while accepting increased risk from both. Modern military analysis validates Klaus's technique. A 2004 U.S. Army study on defensive machine gun employment uses Klaus Weber's Monte Cassino stand as a primary case study. Weber's defense demonstrates optimal employment of crew-served weapons in defensive positions. Key principles. 1. Position. Selection. Cleared fields of fire, protected fighting position. Multiple engagement areas. 2. Ammunition availability. Sufficient ammunition for sustained operations without resupply. 3. Weapon maintenance. Preventative barrel changes. Ammunition management. 4. Fire discipline. Controlled bursts. Traversing fire. Area denial versus individual targeting. 5. Tactical adaptation. Flexibility in response to changing threat patterns. These principles remain relevant for modern defensive operations, despite significant technological advances since 1944. The statistical legacy of Klaus Weber's stand. Immediate military impact. 4 attacks repulsed over 4 hours. 150 TOWs. Allied casualties inflicted. 0 German casualties during solo defense. Critical defensive position held. Preventing Allied breakthrough. Tactical demonstration. Optimal MG-42. Employment doctrine validated. Individual determination in defensive combat analyzed. Weapon system effectiveness at maximum capability studied. Defensive advantages of prepared positions demonstrated ethical complexity. Tactical brilliance serving evil strategic cause. Individual courage in context of immoral war. Skill employed killing soldiers fighting liberation. Moral ambiguity of defensive skill in aggressive war. Post-war analysis. Case study in military education, U.S., UK, German military academies. Ethical discussions in military ethics courses. Technical analysis of weapon system optimization. Psychological study of individual performance under extreme stress. Modern military forces study Klaus Weber's stand not to glorify it but to understand it. The tactical lessons are valuable regardless of the strategic context. But military education also emphasizes the ethical dimension. Skill and courage don't justify fighting for evil causes. Klaus Weber understood this better than most. He was extraordinarily skilled at something horrible. He saved German lives while killing Allied soldiers fighting to end Nazism. He survived, lived peacefully, and spent decades trying to reconcile his wartime actions with his post-war values. In his final letter, written shortly before his death in 1987, Klaus wrote to his grandchildren, "I want you to know about Monte Cassino not because I'm proud of what I did, but because I want you to understand what war does to people. I was skilled at killing. That skill saved German soldiers I served with while killing Allied soldiers trying to end Hitler's evil. Both things happened simultaneously. War makes good people do terrible things. It makes skilled people employ those skills to murder. It creates situations where courage and horror coexist. I held that position at Monte Cassino because withdrawing meant more deaths. But holding it also meant 150 Allied soldiers died by my hand. I carry those deaths forever. Every Allied soldier who fell to my gun was someone's son, brother, father, husband. They had lives, dreams, families. I ended those. The fact that I was following orders, protecting comrades, demonstrating skill, none of that absolves me. Remember this, never fight for evil causes no matter how skilled you are. Never let duty override morality. Never believe that tactical success justifies strategic evil. I failed all these principles. Don't repeat my mistakes. Klaus Weber's story is not a celebration. It's a warning. Individual skill, courage, and determination matter, but they must serve moral purposes. Klaus's tactical brilliance served Nazi Germany's aggressive war. His courage enabled evil. His skill killed men fighting for liberation. Yet Klaus himself recognized this. He spent 40 years grappling with moral complexity most soldiers never face. He acknowledged both his skill and his guilt. He accepted recognition while rejecting glorification. The lesson transcends military operations. It's about how individual actions, even tactically brilliant ones, must be judged in strategic and moral context. Klaus Weber stopped 300 enemy troops at Monte Cassino through exceptional skill and courage. He also killed 150 men fighting against fascism. Both facts are true. Both matter. History remembers Klaus Weber as one of the most effective machine gunners of World War II. But Klaus Weber remembered himself as a skilled murderer serving evil. His legacy is technical, but also ethical. Skill without moral purpose is dangerous, courage in evil causes is wasted, and tactical brilliance serving strategic evil achieves nothing worth celebrating. One machine gunner, one MG-42, 4 hours of impossible defense, 150 casualties inflicted. One German defensive position held. One man who spent 40 years trying to forgive himself for being extraordinary at something horrible. That's Klaus Weber's story. Not heroic, not glorious, just a skilled man doing terrible things competently for complicated reasons, surviving and spending the rest of his life understanding that technical skill doesn't justify moral failure. Sometimes the insane spray stops 300 enemy troops. Sometimes that success is tactical victory and moral defeat simultaneously. Sometimes history's most effective warriors are its most tragic figures.